Today we're going to talk about the basics of jinxing, hexing, and curses in just a moment. Hey guys, I'm Mel from Melsdivination. I'm the owner, the operator, and the creator here, and on Wednesdays we do Witchy Wednesdays. Thank you for subscribing if you've been following for a while. If you haven't, please sign up, and if you're new, welcome. In this community, it is a non-judgmental approach to magic and anything spiritual. So, today we're going to be talking a bit more about baneful magic. Some of my most popular videos right now are videos around baneful magic, and I do want to just talk a little bit really quickly about some disclaimers and like trigger warnings before we really launch into this video. First and foremost, as I said, non-judgmental. So if you are here to attack people or push your views on something or whatever, this is not the video for you. If you have issues around curses or hexes or jinxing, that kind of thing, you have triggers around it, perfectly acceptable, but this is not the video for you. I'm not going to tolerate crap in the comments. We're not going there, okay? This is an informative video rather than a video of you should do this or you should do that, all right? As I said, I'm Mel. You can find me at melsdivination.com. All my links are down below. My main link is the very first link in every description box. And as far as magic is concerned, I don't do magic for other people, but I do have an option for a consultation in my website for a quick email check-in. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. I have a lot of notes that I put together for you guys on this, so I am going to be looking down a lot because I want to stay on track. This is going to be a longer video, so definitely buckle up if you're looking to get more information around this. There's a lot to be said about each of these things: the jinxing, the hexing, the cursing. What are they? How do you do them? Are there rules around them? And this is probably going to be the first video in a series of videos on baneful magic. I am going to be creating a playlist of baneful magic in the site, in the YouTube. So if you're looking for more details, you're wondering if you've missed a video or whatever, check that out. Now, there's no way I can include everything I've personally researched and learned about these things in just one video, so we're probably going to be talking more about this in the future. Before we really get going here, I need to just say a few things about my rules about this video. I did do a quick little disclaimer. Now, first and foremost, like every other video that I put on this channel, I am sharing my thoughts and opinions about this topic along with the research I have done. There is no right or wrong, okay? There is no I'm wrong, you're right, I'm wrong. There's layers of gray in everything when it comes to magic, all right? These are not necessarily something you have to agree with or you have to follow what I'm saying. If you don't like the negative baneful magic, this video is not for you. We said that already. And secondly, many people will get triggered with this video of all different kinds. I'm not going to tolerate shaming, attacking, name-calling, or anything nasty in the comments down below. It's going to get deleted. You are entitled to your beliefs, just as I am, just as the rest of us are, and that is something that we need to be respectful of one another on this platform. Third of all, I also want to remind you all that I am not a Wiccan. I have never been Wiccan. I am not a practicing Wiccan. I don't follow the religions or the rules around it. So some people might get a little bit confused with that because they're not the same thing, and I don't follow Wiccan guidance, okay? There is a difference. Also, stay tuned until the end of this video if you want tips about scammers. Scammers, unfortunately, there's a lot of them out there, and especially around this kind of spell work and things of that nature. So we're going to talk about that at the very end. This main part of the video is going to be about research. What are these kinds of spells and things you need to know about the difference of them. Let me also remind all of you, just in case, I do not do spell work for clients at all. Not at all. So if you're emailing me trying to get me to do spell work for you, or you want me to do a curse or a hex or something, I don't do that. That's not what I'm here for. I do tarot divination readings. I do coaching. If you're looking for some kind of coaching around spell work, feel free to reach out. We can talk about that and I can give you guidance. Actually, because of two of my Baneful videos have become extremely popular, I actually created an option on my website at melsdivination under appointments that you can order for $15 an email question, an email answer from me. One question you can get through email. It is detailed about any kind of like magical stuff, because I love to answer you guys, but I just don't have that. I can't keep up with it. The videos got very popular and I just can't. So if there's, unfortunately, like I'm not your magical Google. So you can do your research, you can look into it, you can talk to other people or look at other influencers. And if you're not sure and you still have a question that you really want to get answered, feel free to reach out to me. It's just that I can't check all the comments around things, all right? We are going to get into the definitions of each individual thing, jinx, curse, hex, jinx, hex, curse, in a few minutes. But first, I want to talk a little bit about general guidelines. I'm not talking about ethics here. That will be a totally different video. Like, should you curse? What does it mean if you curse? If not, like, what? We'll talk about ethics, meaning, do you have a right to? When should you? We'll talk about that in another video, all right? We could talk for days just about that one thing, because everybody has a different point of view about it. Today we're talking about what are they in general guidelines, okay? So, more specifically, hexes and curses, these guidelines are for, because jinxes are kind of like, they're minor. They're not a major concern. But this is going to kind of talk about when you decide to perform something like this, check in with these guidelines and see if you really should. Like, how do you feel after looking at these guidelines, okay? Some of these guidelines I created, some of these guidelines I got from influencers, some of these guidelines I got from books, and I kind of smashed them all together. So at the end of the video, I will also give credit to my resources, okay? Just to be fair. As far as general guidelines, we have 5 overall guidelines, and then we have a section of questions you should ask yourself, all right? So these are just guidelines in general when it comes to Baneful stuff. Sour jars and freezer spells are not the same as a hex or a curse. They're more like banishing or freezing or sticking things. So we'll talk about that in another video. That's number 1. Number 2, working with this more negative, heavy magic and energy can be dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. If you are not of pure heart or pure intentions, if your intentions are not justified, we'll say. Number 3, reasons for caution. And I'm going to get more into this one after I finish going through all these guidelines. If you do a hex or a curse over someone who didn't rightfully harm you, if they didn't harm you intentionally, it can backfire. It can blow up in your face in some way, especially if you're using spirits, guides, or deities. And I have a story to tell you about that, but we're going to talk about that in a minute, okay? So just kind of put that aside for a thought. Number 4, make sure it's for a good reason. And I'm going to give you the list of questions to help you make that decision. Number 5, it's not the kind of spell work you should be doing just out of impulse. Actually, really no spell work should be done like that, but especially this kind. Make sure before doing it, you speak with a more neutral advisor. Talk to a friend, talk to a teacher, talk to a mentor. Don't just run out and do it because you're angry. Sometimes stuff like that is regrettable after the fact, okay? Now, the quick story. Let's go back to number 3, where it could blow up in your face. I personally never had this happen to me. I know of one situation that it did happen to somebody. I'm not going to name names, but this person I'm trying to think how to tell you guys this without like slandering or giving away too much information, because it's kind of a delicate area. It is about somebody that is an influencer. This person used to sell, probably still does, I don't follow them at all anymore, so this was years ago, used to sell products, classes, and like readings and services, all right? And they promised to deliver. I took a class from them, and I think I've mentioned this situation in another video, but I didn't really go into the detail I'm going to go into right now. I took a class from this person because I had been following them for a long time on YouTube, and they were very informative, they were very convincing, they were very good on YouTube. And this is why you got to be careful about who you choose to follow, who you choose to buy into. And so they were really good. They were great. It was very believable that they were a master of this topic, and they sold a class, and there was certain things that were promised in this class. Let's say so many videos of content released within a week's time, so many live Discord moments, like live chat opportunities to discuss things within a certain amount of time, and the level of material that was promised, okay? Now, as this course went on, I started, I think, in January. We're talking April, May, we're months into it, and this person isn't delivering. They're not delivering what was promised in the course. They're not releasing videos the way that they should, that they said they would. There's always an excuse. There's always some other reason why they can't do it. Now, they've taken people's money, a lot of people. Then there was, they're not doing the live video interaction. There's always an excuse about that. Then there was like no real answers through email, which they had offered mentorship through email as well. That's not happening. So the major aspects of what they were promising in this course were not being delivered. And I'm not talking about once or twice, because life happens. I'm talking about by the time we got to May, they were supposed to be going live weekly, and by the time we got to May, they had only done it like 2 times. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. And people had finished the course, and they were waiting for new material, and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks went by, and there was still no new material. And when we'd ask about it, we would get excuses about something like, oh, well, I'm writing this or I'm doing that. So they were signing up or taking our money while having other obligations and putting those obligations before us and taking on new obligations while they had taken our money and weren't delivering. So there should have been some kind of like offered a refund or something, some kind of help when they weren't able to deliver what they should have. Instead, there was excuses. And when people were complaining, because this was in a Facebook group, we had a private Facebook group for this class, and when people were complaining or being like, hey, what's going on? Anybody know what's happening? Blah, blah, blah. Like not being super disrespectful, just voicing concerns, this individual kicked them out. They deleted the concerns. They hid the concerns from everybody else. They booted the person. Anytime somebody voiced any kind of concern about like, where's this course? Where's this? Where's that? They got kicked out. They got refunded instead of having an explanation. And more people started asking questions, and more people were like, what the hell is going on? And I ended up making a bunch of friends through this situation. My point is, because more and more people got booted, like, let's hide the bad business. Let's hide the sneaky, shady business stuff. This individual tried to curse a lot of us, a lot of the people that were speaking up to get compensation or to get what was promised. It wasn't even that we were attacking the person. We just wanted what was promised. We wanted the course. And so this person went live on a social media platform that we all followed, and on live video did a cursing ceremony against the people that had reasonably voiced concerns about the course. And they called in a specific deity that I'm not going to go as far as saying who, because if any of you guys watch this person and have been watching them for a long time, you'll know who I'm talking about. And I don't really want to fully put them on blast. Like, that's not my intention here. My example is, this is how bad it can go. That's why I'm telling you guys, need a little bit of a background to know. And this person used to call where they lived their motherland. That their motherland had embraced them, and so they called on a deity and they called on their motherland that they were in to bring vengeance against the people that had been speaking up, and they saw it as the people were attacking them, when really we just wanted information. It really wasn't as bad as they couldn't handle. They were immature. They weren't a good business person. They couldn't handle constructive feedback or criticism or questions. And anytime that happened, they felt like they were being attacked. All right. So they tried to curse a bunch of us, and it blew up in their face. A few weeks later, this person posted on social media that a human being literally took a dump on their doorstep. And the deity they called in is somebody that you don't mess with. She is a very badass one who is gonna punish you if you're not doing it if you're not being justified in your actions. She's gonna call you out. So, like, this is like a don't fuck with me deity that this person tried to use because she was trying to punish people. And instead, it blew up in her face. And what ended up happening was, like, none of us cursed her. We just kind of protected ourselves and did return to sender spell, which I will share someday with you guys. Because we knew, like, you're posting it on social media that you're cursing us. Of course, we're going to protect ourselves. So the thing got bounced back to her. And what ended up happening was she got sued. She ended up getting taken to court. She got in a lot of trouble. And she lost her home. She had to move someplace else. And I would never, like, wish that even on somebody that I'm having an issue with. Like, my frustration, I didn't hex her, I didn't curse her, I didn't send any of that. I was just annoyed. And I never would do that. Like, I didn't send anything towards her intentionally. But you mess with the wrong spirits and you're not justified in what you're doing, it's gonna come back and bite you in the ass pretty badly. I've personally seen it happen. So I do want you to just take into account some of these things, because I've literally seen how bad it can get for somebody if they're trying to attack others and they're not justified. All right? If you guys know who I'm talking about, please don't name them. I will delete it. I'm not trying to, again, put this individual on blast. They were young. They still are. They needed to grow and learn about how to operate a business, and I'm pretty sure that they've learned their lesson at this point, because getting sued is pretty hardcore. I'm going to just take a quick sip of my seltzer because we have a lot more to talk about here. Okay, so questions. Here's the questions that I put together for you to ask yourself prior to actually doing any of this spell work or hiring somebody to do it. We'll talk about hiring somebody to do workings after. Some of these questions are my own, some are from others, like I mentioned, and I'll include the resources at the end of the video. We have 12 questions here. Have you reflected on this in meditation and in journaling? 2, have you asked if this is something that will just blow over? Is it something that, you got into a petty argument or something and you're just pissed about it and it's just it'll go away? 3, what other approaches in the mundane world have you tried first, depending on the situation? Law enforcement, mediation, human resources, etc. What else have you tried that's non-magical? Because often, if you're trying to jump to cursing and hexing, it's because you're going to the extreme. I've done a couple, like, check out my hex spell. and even my freezer spell, the spells that I have done, although that's not baneful, but the spell work that I've done when I've done it towards a person, it's because I've taken all the other avenues and I'm at my wit's end, and there's literally no other way to move the energy, and I need help to move the energy. Number 4, is this your last resort? It should be. Number 5, does this spell really need to be done? Does karma already handle it? Is there already something in process with karma? And is it really necessary? For instance, I heard somebody once reference wanting to hex somebody or wanting to curse somebody because an individual gave them HIV, which is pretty extreme. I don't know this story personally. It's something I heard. Now, the example this individual was saying is, why would you want to hex them? They're going to die. Like, they're going to suffer way more than anything you can do to them at this point. So that's just an example. It's an extreme example, but it is an example. Number 6, is there really a need for justice to happen, or is it already in process and you just need to be patient? Number 7, do I have the right to do this spell? And have I been directly involved? Was there something that directly happened to you? Number 8, do I feel strongly that I should be doing this? Number 9, do I have all the facts? 10, have you done divination or tarot on the person? Because if you're doing a hex or a curse, you're going after somebody. You're doing that at somebody. That's not just some general thing, right? 11, what did they do to you? Was it intentional or on purpose, or was it accidental? If it's accidental, you probably shouldn't be doing it. Number 12, have they really truly wronged you, and can't just be because you got into a basic fight. This can't just be because you just got into a fight, all right? So that's kind of like a checklist for yourself. Like, okay, did I answer yes to most of these? If so, then I probably should consider proceeding. If I'm saying no to a bunch of them, I probably shouldn't do it. All right? Just to kind of keep yourself in check. Now that you've gotten past all the guidelines, all the questions, now you still want to do it? All right, let's talk about what these things actually are and how they affect the person you're sending them to. We're not going to talk too much about backfiring anymore because we just talked about it a little bit, so we don't need to get into that again. In an article I read once, the author referred to the 3 categories, almost like levels of crime. Jinx is a parking or speeding ticket or a minor traffic violation. Hex is a misdemeanor. Curse is a felony. So these are in levels of increasing difficulty and seriousness. That should hopefully give you if you're an adult, you should know what those things are. So if you're a kid and you're watching this and you don't know what this is, you probably shouldn't be watching this video. This is more of like an 18 plus kind of video. Now, we're going to talk about Jinx. Jinx is a minor spell that is used to cause bad luck or annoyance to someone. Jinxes are often used as pranks and can be broken by simply ignoring them or not giving power to them. They are also a small thing that could be easily done. It doesn't majorly life alter anything. Next up is a hex. A hex is a more powerful spell that is used to cause harm or injury to someone. Often people will use it as something to humble an individual, make them sick but not kill them, bring them down, kind of bring something down around them. Something that is kind of quick as well. It usually does its work and then moves on. It's not something that lingers forever. In order to break a hex, it's not extremely difficult. You can wait it out, or you can go to some basic cleansings. Spiritual bath, smoke cleansing, washes, etc. Usually a hex brings bad luck often to a particular area of your life, not your entire life. And I did hear an influencer once describe it as being hit in the face with a basketball. It hurts real fast, it hurts like hell, and then it's over. It takes more energy to create than a jinx, and usually there is a particular amount of focus that needs to be short term on the spell work. So this person, whoever is casting the spell, really has to focus, has to stay on it. It's not like you just do the spell and you move on. Like you're feeding it a bit, okay? Last but definitely not least, we have a curse, which is the most intense. A curse is the most powerful type of spell, and it is used to cause serious harm or even death to someone. Curses are the most difficult to perform as well as to remove. A curse is the opposite of a blessing, a thing that forces us, there's almost like a force of nature involved with it. Speaking evil intent or bad intent over someone's life in a negative way to cause harm. Usually, spell work needs to be done to remove a curse the majority of the time, like 99% of the time, okay? A curse is the one that takes the most attention, most intention, most energy and focus to create and send to a person. This is long-lasting, sometimes even lifetime-lasting. People say a generational curse is a curse that was put on you and your bloodline, and it just keeps going. Now, I think I talked about that in my buzzwords, but this is more magic specific, okay? The thing is with keeping a curse of any kind going, any kind of curse, it takes an immense amount of energy to be fed into it on a regular basis. Meaning, maybe there's like a puppet doll made, or maybe it's like sympathetic magic, and there's something that you have to keep feeding. You have to keep giving it attention. You have to keep renewing the spell. You can't just do the spell and it's over. Curses are a lot of work. They're a lot of energy. So it's not something that just happens by accident. It's not something that happens all the time. And it does take a lot of attention for it to happen. It's a complicated working that needs to be tended to, like I said, in order to keep it active or alive. A generational curse means that it is over years and decades, which is an extremely rare thing to see, okay? The word is out there so much, and it's definitely overused, misused. Oh, we're breaking generational curses. No, you're breaking generational habits. You're breaking generational thought process. So, things like that. You're breaking culture that has been passed down. It's not a curse. A curse is something that is intentionally put on you. Very different, okay? But the terminology out there this is why I hate labels, because what somebody over there considers a generational curse, this isn't defining it as a generational curse, okay? So just be mindful about labels and definitions, right? Okay, so let's talk generally here for a minute. Often you'll hear someone say, you have a curse, or I have a curse on me in this community. Some of these people that say these things, it's basically fear-mongering from Christian values. Some of it are scammers. Some of it is just misunderstandings or misrepresentations of what one truly is. I do want to be clear. Curses are rare. We're not all walking around, 8 out of 10 people have a curse on them. No, it's not. No. It is not something that you see every day. It is not something that is easily done or maintained, so it's highly unlikely that you have a curse on you. Where you need to be cautious about all of this is specifically these scammers out here that give us practitioners a bad name, and I'm going to get more into that. For example, if you ever get a reading from someone that you don't know very well, like, oh, it's an influencer, or I saw an advertisement, I guess I'll try it out, right? And they tell you that you have a curse. You have a curse. You need to pay $3,000 and I will do the spell work to remove it from you. That's not legitimate. Real readers don't do that. Real readers make you empowered. We're not here to scare you. Where scammers like that are trying to get you to spend more money. Trying to get you, All right? It's not legit. Don't let them scare you. If you are concerned that you may actually have a curse or a hex attached to you, seek out a divination reader who you know is trustworthy. Somebody you've been referred to, somebody that has good reviews, good testimonies, somebody that you know and trust that you've used in the past, something like that. Do not just go to whoever and however and take their advice. People that are scammers love to say to you, you have a spell on you, or you have a curse on you, or you have a block that needs to be removed, and only I can remove it. I have the perfect spell for that. I have the perfect candle for that. Also, should you ever get to a place where you want to hex or curse someone, and you don't feel you can do the magic yourself, let's say you want to pay a professional person to do this, make sure you vet them. Any kind of spell work, even like love, even abundance, any kind of spell work, if you pay somebody to do this for you, you should research them, read reviews, learn their history, find testimonials. Are they successful? Is there any proof of them being successful? Word of mouth is huge here because anyone can claim that they can do a spell for you. It doesn't mean that they're actually going to do it, or even if they do it, would it be successful? In my personal opinion, the reason why I don't do them is because it's your responsibility. That's my philosophy. You want to do a spell? That's your responsibility. I'm not interfering with other people's lives and things that I don't even know. You want to do that, you do that. But that's going to be on you. It's not going to, if I do a spell for you and it's not justified, I'm just as at fault because I was willing to do it. I'm not doing that. I'm not even going there for that. All right? The most important things I really want you to take with you after this is that these kinds of spells are not to be taken lightly. The biggest form, which is a curse, isn't something that is easy, and it isn't something that everyone has. Your intention here is really important if you choose to do this. Following those guidelines or those questions should really help you. It should help you determine if it's even warranted. Also, divination is a huge help here. Asking if you should, asking what would happen if you do. Really, you should do divination before you do any kind of spell work to see what the result would be to prevent any unexpected surprises. Maybe you wanted to do a come to me spell, or maybe you wanted to do a job spell and it's not the right job for you, or it's not the right time, and you do it anyway because you didn't do the divination, and the divination would have said, don't do that because your current job is going to find out that you're applying someplace else and it's going to blow up in your face. Yeah, so definitely look at divination before any kind of spell work. Okay? Now, I want to wrap this up. We're getting to the tail end here. The biggest concern that I have for you guys, my viewers out here, by sharing this information with you all, I'm not encouraging you to run out and find and do. Now you know what these are. You got to run out and do them. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying you should. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm saying you need to do your research, as I always say. For one, I do feel like you need to sit with yourself and figure out what you feel is most appropriate. And one of the things that inspired this is some of the comments I have seen in like the hexing videos. There's been a lot of people saying, oh, this happened, so I want to do this. That happened. And a lot of it's trivial. Like, you don't even know the person's name, but yet you want to hex them or curse them. If you don't know their name, then they're not doing something to you too often. Maybe there was like an accident or something. Yeah, okay. But if you don't, like, for instance, if you don't know their name, then you haven't had enough interaction with them to be able to really truly hex them. However, there is one exception. I have read in the Sex Witch book, which I have not talked about ever on this channel, but we will at some point. She offers suggestions around hexing your rapist. Now that might be empowering. And that is more likely, if you don't know the person's name, you're more likely just empowering yourself than you are sending it to somebody specific because you don't know their name. You're taking your power back, right? The last thing I want to say here is this information for you guys isn't so that you can run out and do this magic. It's also so that you have information. It's even if you don't practice baneful magic, it's still good to be aware of it. It's still good to know things about it, because what if somebody does actually send you a hex? How are you going to handle that? Think about that. Now, the other thing I do want to say to prevent these kinds of things is making sure you have regular protection. You're doing regular cleansings in your body, in your space, in your home. You're doing warding. You're talking to your guides. Being mindful about what you are opening your energy to as well. Okay? That's pretty much all I wanted to say as far as I can think of right now. I do have a few spells around this that I would be willing to share. Some are baneful, some are more like protective around baneful energy. So like the Return to Sender spell, that one's pretty good. That one's really good, and it's so easy. There's one that I have around uncrossing, which is like removing blocks or some kind of minor hex. Banishing is that one's kind of like borderline. If it's more of the darker negative energy, then it is, but it isn't. It depends on what the intention is behind it. And then I do have a really good one that I have two really good ones that I've held on to, because if they're used inappropriately, you could regret it real bad. One is to remove something from your energy, to remove an ex, to remove a partner's ex from your energy because they're bothering you. Basically a banishing. The other is to cause a separation. So, and these are not spells that are mine. These are spells that I got from other sources that I use that are extremely strong. If you use lemons in most negative workings, lemons are really solid. Lemons are a good ingredient. All right, we're done here. Let me know if you liked this video. Check out the playlist, because there are going to be more videos coming up about this. I know it's something that's controversial. I know it isn't loved by everybody, and that is okay. You don't have to love this, but it's informative. It's good to know, right? Even if you never intended to practice it, it's still good to know. Okay, Mo. In my last final thoughts, I do have to mention some of my references. This isn't including everything that I have done research around and materials that I've used, but there were specific things that I said that I got from people, and those people I'm going to give credit to, okay? So some of my information came from the Hearth Witch. I've mentioned her before. I will link her channel down below. One of the spells that I just mentioned is her spell. That is an amazing spell. Another one that I got information from, Magical Lady Duchess. I love her. She's amazing. She's also an acquired taste, because she's who I want to be when I grow up. She says it like it is, and if you don't like it, that's just too bad. I love her. She's from Texas. She does conjure, and she doesn't mess around. There were some articles that I read, and I'm so sorry I didn't keep the details on those, so I don't have that for you guys. Multiple books I've used, including but not limited to The Sex Witch, which I mentioned, Basic Witches, and that Everyday Magic book. I don't love that book, but it does have some stuff in it that you can use. All right, some of this information I shared was compiled from research, and some of it was my own information and experiences. Always, always be safe. Keep up your protections. Be kind when you can, as best as you can. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.